time.
Hey guys, thank you for joining us for another exciting episode of Yoml. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. We are on Reflection 232 today, and we have another great book. This is actually a part one of five. Am I correct?
Yeah, this is a five-parter. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a part one of five reflections on one of my and Chris's favorite author, Nicholas. Let's see, Nicholas Taleb.
Yeah. So this is a book three or four, I can't remember, of his Inserto series,
right?
Which is it's called Anti-Fragile: Things That Gain from Disorder. So we're having a bit of a technical difficulty tonight. For some reason, our website is down to pull up the actual reflection. Oh, you know what I could do? I mean, I'm an idiot. Why don't I just do it like this?
Maybe that proves you're not an idiot.
That is true. There you go. This is the actual hard copy, right, of the reflection here. So so we'll flip back and forth a little bit on the screen. So the title, what is you describe Anti-Fragile. You say you tell me what it's about. I know you love this book, so
yeah. So to me, like there are certain things in our universe that has to be in balance. So you have things that are fragile, and there's things that are anti-fragile. So similarly, you have things that are like matter and versus antimatter. And he's not talking about antimatter on this in this thing, but I'm just saying in general, there's always the opposite way. There's composer and there are decomposer. So in the anti-fragile, so everything we see in the world that we normally understand is fragile. Like when you break a glass, it shatters because it's fragile. And the things that thrive in a anti-fragile environment, there are things like that. For example, a hydra is an anti-fragile, meaning if you chop up one head, two will sprout. Chop up another head, two more will sprout. So that is in the mid of chaos, these things grow and thrive on it. And so that is what he calls anti-fragile.
I think that's a great description. From the thank you for doing that. He calls it just from the book description. It's beyond robust, right? It benefits from uncertainty and stressors. The example they give in the description is human bones getting stronger when they're subjected to stress and tension. Similar, exactly what you just said. It's fragility and then the opposite. If there's a spectrum of the fragility spectrum, you have anti-fragile on this end and is the opposite of fragile, right? So we'll discuss way more about what anti-fragile is through the five-part reflection on this one as we go through it. But today's reflection is soul in the game. It's funny that
soul in the game in this book.
Yeah, this is what I was telling you the other day, because I just for reference for everybody. But
isn't there another Inserto?
Yeah, but I hadn't read Skin in the Game, because Skin in the Game actually came after Anti-Fragile, right? So I was reading this one, and I had not read Skin in the Game. I didn't even know it existed, right? So I was this was a message that he put into this book, in a certain section of it that I was like, oh, soul in the game. That's an interesting idea, and he went deeper into soul in the game and Anti-Fragile, and then he wrote a whole book about it in Skin in the Game, right? Where soul in the game was one portion of Skin in the Game, so anyway, so this is when I actually learned about soul in the game, was when I was reading Anti-Fragile. So I didn't write a reflection and Skin in the Game for soul in the game. It's kind of funny how it worked out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I just think that whenever you get to the books and the Skin in the Game,
you're gonna be like,
I wonder what kind of reflection you have to have if you're taking this one.
Well,
and give it the reflection soul in the game.
I'll tell you when I get there, because I just finished that this week, so I just wrote it this week, actually. I just wrote it on Tuesday, so I'm happy to. Can't wait to share it with you.
Are you going to do a multi-part reflection on Skin in the Game as well, or just one?
No, just I told you, on after I finished it on Monday, it felt like Skin in the Game was like he because that's the fifth part of his Inserto series or whatever. It felt like it was just like a detail more detailed recap of the other, three books, like where he would just build on top of all three of them, and kind of, it was almost like a recap. There wasn't much new information that was presented in Skin in the Game, in my opinion. It felt more like him just wrapping it all up,
Like an epilogue.
kind of like it felt like a swan song, if you will, like, hey, this is my final, I'm gonna drop the mic in this in this realm, and this is like my final piece of work that I'm gonna write on it, and kind of like was summarizing it all is really what it felt like to me, which is why I didn't actually love. Actually, it's a good time to start the reflection. So I loved this book. Like, it was great. That's why I wrote a 5-part reflection on it, right? I don't know what it is about, as we've talked about, like, Taleb is I don't know what it is about, his writing, the way that he presents stuff, that his exploration of a topic that he truly loves, I don't know, it's something about it, right, where it just appeals to me, and I don't know why, but I'm going to try to figure it out in this particular reflection. Actually, that's why I wrote about soul in the game. So I didn't love it as much, just to be fair, as Black Swan. Black Swan is still my favorite by far. I feel like he kind of still had some civil discourse in Black Swan, even though he took some swipes at people and whatever. But like, and I feel like in Anti-Fragile, he kind of started to take the gloves off a little bit, and he was just like going at people.
Go backhand.
Yeah, and then in Skin in the Game, he just went all in. Like, he was just like, it was. I felt like Skin in the Game was more of like an attack on everybody, just personal attack on people. So from an idea perspective, Black Swan and Anti-Fragile, the two best ideas that were presented during this whole entire series with him, in my opinion. Black Swan I enjoyed it more because I felt like he was still kind. Like, he's now turned into almost a philosopher now, in a lot of ways, in my opinion. That's what I saw, like, as the progression went through these books. But either way, I still loved it. It was still a great book. So one of the things that he had talked about in Anti-Fragile is the idea of soul in the game, and it made me start to think, like, why do I really like this guy so much? And if there's one thing that you could ever say, you could hate him. He's got really strong opinions. You could absolutely read anything that guy writes, and the way that he carries on in his life, and go, man, that guy sucks. But the one thing you will never say about Nassim Taleb, and you can back me up on this if you want to, or disagree, but like, the dude walks the walk. He lives what he talks about. He has inserted himself. He has a beautiful question that he went and explored around uncertainty and randomness in this world, and he smack dab plopped himself in the middle of that with the work that he did, the life that the stuff that he talks about, how he goes about his day, how he structured everything. He tinkered, he explored, he did a lot of stuff, he wrote a lot of stuff, and then he presented his findings to people through this Inserto series, really. So the one thing that I know that anybody could not challenge Nassim Taleb is that he believes, and he's got his soul in the damn game, right? And I remember in this particular book when he said, skin in the game really is like table stakes. Like, you have to have skin in the game if you're gonna like trust anybody in this world. Like, if somebody does not have skin in the game, like, zero, just disregard them completely. Like, they like, if they're some economists doing shit about the macro economy, where they're just guessing about stuff in the future, and they have no harm that can come to them at all, like, run far away, right? Like, now, like, an entrepreneur that is started a business and went out on the line and put his own money up at risk, like, at least that's some skin in the game, right? So I at least respect that person, and I will give them the time of day to, like, hear about their story and what they did. But soul in the game is a whole different animal, in my opinion. Like, when you find somebody that has soul in the game, like, you absolutely should listen all day, every day, because that person has spent a lifetime exploring, or however long it is at that point in time, exploring their beautiful question. They are in it. Like, I mean, this is their life, and while that can be bad and good, like, I, like, my grandmother comes to mind with somebody that has her soul in the game. She really believes in the Catholic faith, right? She really believes in the church. She really believes in everything that it stands for, and how it goes about life. anytime that I talk to her, if you ever go watch the Grandma Diaries videos that I been recording and putting on YouTube for if she allows me to share them with the broader public, like she talks about this stuff constantly, and she really believes in this stuff, right? And that's fine. And that's one of the reasons why I love my grandmother. Like I wrote about her in my book, like she's somebody that lives a value-driven life and knows exactly what she wants and knows exactly, and she's invested her time and energy and efforts and all of her life into that world, right? Same thing with Nicholas Taleb, right? These are people that have truly souls in the game, and those are the people that everybody should be looking for in their life. And if you find them, just sit back and listen, because they will unload on you just an insane amount of knowledge and love and all this stuff will just come out of them, just flowing out of them, right? So this whole entire concept of soul in the game for me made me think about like my own life, and really this journey that you and I've been on a lot together is a journey that I started, with my soul in the game, and that all I didn't have my soul in the game in anything before. As a matter of fact, I used to joke. I mean, I was like anti-soul in the game almost in a weird way, because I was like, yeah, whatever, like I'll just work hard and do stuff, and yeah, I mean, I want to be good at things, but like I don't really care that much about being great at my job or something like that, or being super into religion, and that all changed for me with Amelia. Like my soul is in the game of living for two with her. My soul is in everything that we're doing to try to find a way to live our values and bring those things to life. And for me, it's to do that with my daughter. But then side effect is to see if we can help other people to find ways to live their values and bring them to life, to produce meaningful work and meaningful relationships, and do their best to live a balanced existence and have a life, fulfilling life. Like, so we have done so much tinkering and exploration and all these conversations and topics and yada yada yada. Like we're on our way. Our soul is in this game right now, and I know it for a fact. Like you could tell me I'm wrong. You could tell me I don't really give a shit. Like, but I'm gonna go spend the rest of my life trying to figure out, this particular problem. This is my beautiful question. This is your beautiful question at this point in time, I feel like. And as we keep going down this road, like at some point in time, people should take notice of what we're doing, because whether you agree with us or disagree with us, like our soul is in the game, and we're definitely going to figure out if this beautiful question, if we can figure out this answer to this stuff going forward, right? I don't know. There's just something to the idea of having your full soul into this game, and as I think about my own funeral or something like that someday, like I hope to God that people say to me, and we've talked about this. This is like from Man's Search for Meaning. I hope to God that people come to my funeral someday and say, Chris had his whole soul in the game of living for two with his daughter. He lived up to his promise for her, and he helped as many people along the way as he could. And if I can hear that, that means I'll have honored my promise to Amelia, and that means that I will live a damn fine fucking life. And I will be incredibly proud to say that, or to have other people, feel that way at my own funeral someday. So like that's the power of soul in the game, in my opinion. And I feel like Nicholas Taleb would say the same thing. Like if people come to his funeral and was like, that guy really cared about randomness and really helped a lot of people to see different, a different perspective in this world, I'm sure he'd be a damn really, really happy person, beyond in whatever world that he's in at that point in time. So love to pause there. Love to get your thoughts. Like, the question that I put at the end of this is your soul in the game? Is the soul in the game that you play? So yeah, love to hear what you think.
I mean, I think, to kind of, in my opinion, you should have soul in the game in life. Otherwise you have no life. I'm sorry. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but I don't really care if you disagree. But so for me is I think like, for example, like for most of what Taleb has written, a lot of these come from ancient wisdom. Right? So he's talking about the silver rule, right? We know about the golden rule. We know about the platinum rule through your book and through the book that what's that lady from Facebook?
Sheryl Sandberg. Yeah.
Sandberg, right?
Option B. Yeah.
Yeah, the platinum rule, right? But everybody should know about the silver rule. And so similarly, the skin game is an ancient wisdom.
Right.
You think about in the past, like when a king goes into battle, into battle, the people will follow him.
That's my reflection for anti-fragile, or for skin in the game, was the silver rule. So just so you know, you're ruining it. But yeah, all right. All right, no, go ahead. Keep going. Sorry.
I'm pretty good at doing that, but I don't care. But like I'm saying is, like like your soul in the game is what people expect you, right? Because if you think about it, if you have a certain nature, like your nature is to be this kind of human being, like if I ask you, Chris, at the end of your life, at your funeral, what would you want people to say to you? What kind of man Chris is, right? Is Chris a very sly, slick, fast talking dude that can sell anything? Or is Chris this guy, that kind of guy, whatever? So essentially, when you have a certain game, it's essentially going all in on a bet.
Yeah.
You basically say, hey, let's say you're at a poker table and you say, well, I'm all in. That's what certain game means. It's like you put everything in to whatever that you betting on it, and
Right.
and that it's an all or nothing. It's an all in. And so when somebody have that kind of conviction, what do you think they will do
They're
to
gonna
the
figure it
things they
out.
focus on? The thing they focus on.
They're either gonna figure it out or they're not, but
They
they're
are
gonna learn.
going to be
Yeah.
relentless,
Right.
right? Because it's everything they have. But that's the thing is, but the thing is, once you have the ability to go all in for the soda game, then the people that is going to see you is going to say, well, that guy is true to what he believes.
Yep.
And so the only beside anything else, you can say one thing for sure is that guy believes in his principle. He stands on the principle. He's not this floating guy that say, like we talk to a politician, should you vote, should you support this, support that. They will give you some kind of like an in between answers.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a skin game. That's not soda game. Soda game say I stand on this principle, and that's what I do, and I don't really even want to consider the other side when I'm all in. So that's what I do. And so when you look at that kind of a person, it's like back to what I say, if you don't have a soul in the game in your life is not worth living. Because at the end of the day, there are certain things that you want to be known as. You don't want to be known as, hey, this guy's a sissy, right? I don't know. Maybe that's what you want. But in general, for me, from my perspective, let's take me for example. Like I don't want to be known as this indecisive person. For me, I just don't know why. And another example, we say this true is basically a liar. For whatever reason, that doesn't jive with me at all. I just don't. I mean, it doesn't affect me in the grand scheme of the universe. It doesn't it should not have affect me at all, but it does. This is because my nature of wanting to be, truthful and honest and have integrity. So for me, I want to be known as an honest man. Whether that has any value to anyone, it doesn't matter. But because of that, my soul is in the game in terms of building this principle of mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
That means for you, say, hey, what kind of man do you want to be? Do you want to be a righteous man? You want to be a thief? You want to be a sly? You want to be, the bigotry, the bigot? You want to be whatever you want, right? What kind of person you want to be? Because if you don't take a stand, right, you cannot be in those person that you want to be. At the end of the day, you say, well, I didn't go all in. Just like um, let's say like for one time in your life, you bet on a stock or bet on a horse, and that horse wins big. Then you say, shit, I should have bet everything. I should have, you know, mortgaged
Right.
my house and drain my bank account and bet on it. Because, you say, hey, this is the right thing. And then you regret it because, hey, I didn't go all in. And that's
Yeah.
what you're going to feel like at the end of your day, at the end of life. You say, well, I didn't go all in into the things I believe in. And so to me, if you don't have soul in the game of life, you don't have much of a life.
I couldn't agree more. Honestly, like I actually think about, you know, past businesses that I've started and if you asked me, like if you honestly asked me, you said, Chris, be honest, like was your soul in the game of either of the two businesses the two legitimate businesses, that gained some traction in my life, like was that I've done on the side was my soul in the game? My soul wasn't in the game. I had a little bit of skin in the game, but I actually tried to do my best to keep as little amount of skin in the game and still keep my kind of 1 foot somewhat skin in the game over here and somewhat skin in the game over there. I would spread my skin
I
around,
mean, you
a little
probably
bit,
keep an eye on it, but that's it.
right. Yeah.
If you make like $100,000 a year and you put in like $1,000, that's not skin the game. Skin the game is when you put in like, hey, I'm putting 50 to 75% of my my earnings into this
but even
startup.
then,
That's skin the game.
but
Store the
even
game
then,
is when you bet everything.
right,
Like, I mean, basically, like if you lose, you lose. Like
right.
that's all. It's an all or nothing. That is the soul in the game. Can you point to me which entrepreneur has soul in the game? That's a guy you wanna partner up, because for him to quit, it's
Yeah,
almost impossible. It's like the last resort. So that is
100%.
basically
Yeah,
the ancient wisdom is that when you go to battle with a king that is willing to be in the front, right? That's the guy you want to follow, or that's
right.
the guy you want to fight with.
It's
You don't
funny
want to
because
fight with the guy that has the control in his castle and say, hey, go fight these guys for me. He has nothing in the game, right?
yeah, I mean
Because
it's
in a battle, the general, the king, is essentially the commander of the army, and he's in the midst of the trench. So most of the time, the king who actually leads it is usually going to have very much success. You look at like the emperor of Rome, Julius Caesar, right?
right.
You're talking about even George Washington, right? These guys actually in the lead in the troops fighting. They're not like somebody sitting in an office and say go do this, go do that. So this is why I'm saying is this an ancient wisdom. It happens like go as far back as we have known about writings in history. We know about the civil war. We know about the soul in the game. You have to put a soul in the game. And at the same time, go and translate that to today, to modern day, is if you don't have soul in the game, you say, well, if I did believe in this, right, then why didn't I put everything in? Why didn't I go 100% of my effort into it versus not? And then if I did not, if you say, well, if I go and I start this business and my soul wasn't in the game, so why did I waste time doing this thing versus there's the other thing that fits more, better for me, and be able to focus my time with it than to kind of be subtracted from the time from, let's say, a year that I didn't get to do the other stuff I should have been done. So at the end of the day, you say, well, my limited life, the time on earth is limited, and I wasted this amount of money, this amount of time to something else that I don't really like or I really hate. And then you
Right.
regret having so little time to do the things you like. And so to
It's
me, at the end of the day, if you don't have the soul in the game and you don't figure it out today, you're going to regret that. The more you waste, the more you regret. That's what I'm
and
saying is that's why having the understanding of the soul in the game and figure out what it is that drives you, and doing that will actually reduce much of those regrets.
you kept pausing and then you were talking again, like, so you were tripping me out there. You would pause like for like 2 seconds. I thought you were done. I was making sure you were officially done there on that one. No, it reminds me honestly of not only like I think you're spot on with everything you're saying, but it also comes across to other people that is engaging in your life and perceiving your life from the outside, and it makes me think specifically around a lot of the books, some of my most favorite memorable books and authors that I've gone through in this journey, and the stories that they've told, the ones that just I can't get out of my head oftentimes are ones where it's pure skin in the game, where it's John Krakauer on into the thin air on on the Mount Everest, like, disaster. That book will haunt you, or you think of Christopher McDougall and Running with Sherman and Born to Run, like he lived that stuff. He loves the idea of endurance for human beings and figuring out how to leverage, running in order to live a fulfilling, meaningful life and to connect with other people. And like when you hear these guys' stories and you hear the way that they explore these topics and they like it just, it just pulls you in. Or you know, even at worst case scenario, I love books, and this discussion has reminded me now of why I love so many of these books where like journalists go into a world that they don't know and they get a little bit of skin in the game and then they figure out if they really like it or they don't like it. Like in that exploration of this with their skin in the game of, you know, at Harahan Finn when he did the ultramarathon book, or Maria Konnikova with the biggest bluff, or you know, Cork Dork, you know, that book. I don't know if we've even done that one yet, but
We
like,
have
but it like, I mean, like, but those, even those ones where like journalists like just go dive into a different world where they don't know anything and they put a little skin in the game and the story that comes out of that, like they're just captivated. And I'm like, look, I get pulled in by that. I'm like, oh, I'll listen to you because you put some skin in the game. But the people that have their soul in the game, the Christopher McDougals, the Bill Brysons, the Nassim Talebs, like those are the dudes that I cherish their.
It's mesmerizing.
It's
when you
yeah.
have somebody who say, you know, I put everything, I go all in into this.
Yeah,
it's mesmerizing because, you know, it's just captivating. Because the thing is, you whatever the I guess the gene that we have is give us ability to relate to him, and the magnitude of the seriousness of the stolen game gets you like really wants to watch very closely. You look at Nassim Taleb, right? He stands on his principle, right? People are attacking him
Daniel
from
Kahneman,
all angles, but he's gonna stand on it, and so he has everything to lose.
Right.
He's not out there saying, I'm going to write this, or I'm going to sell more books. You know, I have to make this guy happy so I can sell more books. You know, is it like, buy my book, you like it, you don't like it, don't buy it. I can tell you now, hey, don't waste your money if you don't believe in what I'm saying. So that's the thing is, he is not out there to be, you know, in a way, a fluff that you can, you know, pass back and forth. You say, right. I'm standing on my principle, and I put everything into it, my whole entire life reputation in it, right? And that's what, and you look at his books, all his books throughout, his tone is exactly the same, and it may even get more, like you said, you know,
it's more aggressive. It gets aggressive.
Yeah, but like even in the beginning, it's still aggressive because, you know. But I say
it was like light punches, you know. It was little jabs, you know, like here and there. But then like,
well,
you know,
he didn't specifically spell it out. He didn't call people any names except for, I think in the Black Swan he did call out some people's name, but it's more of those.
Right.
The frequency has increased in the later books.
I actually had to Google after I read Skin in the Game. I was like, what is up with Steven Pinker and Nassim Taleb's? Like, what is their beef about? Like, because I was like, Jesus Christ, he like hates Steven Pinker. He mentioned him like 50 times in this book, and I was like, it was just cracking me up at the end of it. I was like, man, those two ever saw each other on a street corner, I'd be like, I don't know what it would be like to have two philosophers fighting each other, but you know, it'd be interesting.
I mean, philosophers, they don't actually do any physical damages. You know, they have their weapon, which is the ability to reason, and you know.
But I'll tell you this. No joke. Like, I read Steven Pinker's Enlightenment Now book. I don't remember a fucking thing from it. It was
because
boring.
It's all fluff.
It's all fluff.
Because there's no skin in the game. Because you're not mesmerized by what they're doing. Right. The thing is, you go to, I mean, you play poker, right? Mm-hmm. You play poker. You go to the table. When somebody goes all in, your eyes are like glued to that thing. Okay, what's the next card gonna be? What's the next card gonna be? The thing is, it's any normal game, but when somebody has everything in, like they say, I'm all in. This is the suspense, the dramatic of the conclusion. Everybody's tuned in, and their eyes are glued. We have that gene that wants us to be able to be like glued to this stake, like somebody's taking a big risk. And it hides our focus, our attention to that, right?
We don't really care unless we have something to lose, you know.
Exactly, but that's the thing is, you know, when you have to laugh, and he does that. He say, well, this is my reputation, this is my life, work, and you know, whatever I do, this is it. So I'm not this person where, you know, one day I'm on this side, next day I'm on the other side. So when you read Taleb, right? Either you like him or you hate him. It's just one other thing. You don't go in between, right?
Right.
But either you agree or you don't disagree. I mean, if you
But
agree, you say, hey,
the one thing you can never say is he's phony. Like, I mean, like, I
exactly.
guarantee
He's
you.
not.
Like, I
He's
mean,
not
like,
phony.
right,
He say the way he thinks, and he say like this is why I think, and this is all the things I have written.
right. Like my grandmother that I was talking about earlier. Like, you can say that
So
she's
the thing is,
stupid
it's not
for believing
about
in the
what
Catholic
they
Church.
say,
Right.
right? It's about how they say it. It's
Right.
not about what kind of things they're into. It's how are they doing those things, right?
Right.
So you respect your grandmother, right? Because of the way she behaves towards Catholic, right? There's a
Yeah.
bunch of thousands, millions of Catholics out there. Why aren't you mesmerized by all those Catholic people living? But why
Because
are you
they're
captivated
like
by
they're the two time a
exactly?
year Catholics that
So
pop in during Christmas and they and they're like,
so
oh,
it's
I'm
the
Catholic, Like,
captivation comes from the person,
yeah,
not come
exactly.
from the subject,
No,
right?
not at
This
all.
is
Yeah,
just like
it's
you and me, like, hey, when you and I get together, it doesn't matter what kind of business we do.
no,
It matters that you and I do business together. It's not
exactly.
matter of what kind of business we generate, what kind of startup, what kind of ideas we have. That is not important. Just like
Right.
in this, right? If you have sold the game, and when you have the soda game, you're going all in. This is what captivating. So same thing with what we call culture, right?
Mhm.
Culture is going to give you the ability, the engine to build product. It's not the idea of the product. It's not the idea of the business. It's not any of those things. It's the culture. It's how do you form the culture first? This is why company comes along and say, well, we need culture. We need soul in the game. We have to have these things before we say, well, I am captivating you enough to say, well, what kind of business idea do you have? But if
Well,
I'm
but
not
I
captivating,
have
it doesn't
5 million.
matter.
I have 5 million ideas. That's the point. Is like Taleb has 5 million ideas that he wants to go explore about randomness, and he just keeps doing it, right? Like for what you're just describing with our culture, that we have soul in the game and the culture that we are building. From there, we can have any fucking idea that we want to go explore, like, but it's always with that central neurological like neuron path, where it's like I'm in. Like, I mean, that I found our Grand Canyon. We're off. Like, like this is where we'll be, in the club any work-life balance, complex for the next, I know you hate those words, but you get my point. Like, no, I'm with you 100%. It doesn't matter what we do. It matters why we do it, and it matters, it only matters why you do it. Like, like, I mean, I'm such a firm believer at this point in time in the power of the why to drive, purpose, and then it drives values, and then it drives your actions. And like, I mean, like, I don't ever think you should walk up to somebody and be like, what's your why? Like, fuck you. Like, like, I'm not gonna, do you
Well, the
really
thing
want to
is,
know? Like, like, I
not
mean,
directly, but I think
no, I'm
we
saying there's people
need
that
to
say
act. We need
I
to
was
kind of say, well, in a subtle way. The thing is, if I come to you, Chris, right? Hey, you and I get together. Well, at the bottom, the beneath everything, it's about why am I doing it?
No, I
I
know. No. Hang on. Let me clarify. I was saying in the pop culture world now, where people are like, I have a very specific thing in mind that I was referencing, actually. My wife rides Peloton all the time, and we have a Peloton in our basement,
uh-huh.
and I do it every once in a while. One of the instructors on these live videos, she just yells the whole entire time, I ran 25 marathons. What's your why? Get out there. What's your why? And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, lady, leave me alone. I'm just trying to pedal on a bike. Like, stop screaming at me. Like, I don't need you. Like, there's like this whole like pop culture movement
this
about,
is but this is exactly the because you are not agreeing with her because she has no skin in the game, right?
she
Because the thing
does.
is,
She's like, I ran 25
but
marathons. I was pregnant one time.
what happened?
I'm
No,
like, that's good for you.
it means nothing because the thing is, when you do something for the spirit of the doing versus just the motion of doing, that's a
Right.
difference,
Right.
right?
No, I agree.
You did it because there's an intent versus you did it because it's just emotion. Hey, people say, hey, you ask your why. Oh, what's your why? What's your why? So it's not
Right.
about asking the why. It's about understanding the why. Say, okay,
Yes.
well, you have
I
to
know
kind of
why I
lead.
jumped on the Peloton in the first place. How about that? I mean, it was to enjoy time with my daughter, not to have some lady scream at me, "What's your why?" Like I'm like, leave me alone.
Well, that's what I'm saying is, people have skin in the game. and
Right.
people who don't. And people who don't are just basically using like buzzwords and tools or whatever that is quote unquote like scientifically proven to do blah blah blah, and they say what's your why, think about the happy time, even though they have no idea the meaning behind it. Just like if I keep telling you people must damn, right, and
Right.
somebody hears us say people must damn, and people say people must damn, they have no idea why we're saying it, but they repeat it because they think they know. But they only understand the surface of it. They don't understand the
Right.
deep meaning of what we mean by be with must them. Same thing with these people who say, eat the frog. They don't even know what the fuck is eating a frog means, right?
Right. Or
Uh,
maybe they know it at a certain level, but
no, they
like,
don't.
yeah.
They
I
have.
mean,
I mean,
they,
like I
they might
say,
know the
I
concept of it. I mean, but yeah,
no, they
like,
think they know.
right, fine, fair. Yeah. I mean, I no, I agree with you. Like,
The
I
thing
mean,
is,
I I
I'm the
agree.
kind of guy like the lab. I don't fucking care,
Right.
right? I'm gonna say what I want to say. You can like it if you want, and you can dislike it if you want. I don't care. And I'm gonna say it straight. I ain't gonna be that person and say, I'm on this fence today and I'm on the fence another day. I'm gonna tell you straight. Most people, man, most people think they know. Like me, as a young person, myself included, I think I knew something. That's why I can pretty confidently tell you that in my younger years I know shit,
Right.
right?
Well,
And
I
I
still
know
don't know
shit
anything, but
now.
yeah, yeah, right. Yeah. You know less now. It's the truth. I mean, you know far less now than you
But
knew when you were
I at
younger.
least know that I know shit when I was younger, and other people know shit as well.
Right.
That at least I know some. I mean, I can't say for everybody, but I
Right.
say majority of people in the same profile as me would know shit, and so they think they know, and that is the problem. And I'm not saying that to say, well, you know, you know, you know, you're beyond saving or anything. I'm just saying that to say, hey, if you know shit, right? Meaning you know shit, then you can know shit. Meaning if you know, then you can't learn anything.
Right.
Because like I told you, my struggle with, if I were to have a time machine, go back and educate my 20-year-old young self, I cannot do it because this guy knows too much. Oh, he thinks
Right.
he knows too much. That's the problem because
Right.
he can't learn anything. It's just like the cup is full. He can't pour anything into it.
Right.
And so that's the thing is I want to make it clear that we think we know. So at least have this doubt with hey, maybe we don't know 100% of it. So maybe give it at least some crack
Right.
or some light to be shining into the cracks, and maybe what we see isn't all of the things that it existed is that it's there. So something is being masked or covered or invisible, whatever. At least have a crack in it. Has a seed of doubt in what we know.
Right.
And to me, like I say, I say I'm very good at what I do in terms of programming. And the reason why I'm good at what I do is because I don't know shit. So when something doesn't work, I say, well, this
You try to
probably
figure it out.
doesn't
Yeah.
work no more. I'm gonna
Yeah.
try something else. I'm not
Right.
gonna bang my head against that table, that wall, and say, hey, this makes perfect sense. Why
Yeah.
doesn't it work? And
It's funny.
and all of the developer that I've worked with, this is the exact same default behavior they do, and they spend days, weeks, months on a problem they cannot solve, even though they keep looking at it. It's logically it should work, but it doesn't work, right? To me,
I
I come in there and say, well, in the real world, I have no idea why it doesn't work. Even though
right.
it's supposed to work, it doesn't work. Therefore, I'm not using it. So this is what I do is I go into projects and I do remedial. That means like many developer has gone through that project and could not solve it. I come in and solve for them like in a flick of a finger, because the thing is I didn't solve the problem. I
Yeah.
just threw away the issue and just put it in something new.
I love that you just said that because like it made me think of two things. One, I was just playing tennis before this tonight because it's just such beautiful weather. I love this time of year in springtime, and it's like 75 out and no humidity, and perfectly no clouds out right now today. Like it's just a perfect day. So a buddy of mine texted me on Monday, and he was like, "Hey, all right, we're in between like leagues right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like the summer league doesn't start up for another like month or so." And he texted me and he was like, "Hey, it's awesome day. Like you want to go play on Wednesday?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah, that's fine. Let's go." So this we were just playing a fun match, and he's a good tennis player. Like, I mean, he's solid. He's a very solid tennis player. He's the same level as me. Like, like for all intents and purposes, we should be, incredibly competitive. Every time we play, I kill him. Like, I mean, just kill him. Like, I mean, like I beat him today, like 6-1. I think it was like 6-2 or 6-3 or something like that. Like, I mean, those are not competitive matches, but I know that he's a high caliber player. Every fucking time that we play, like I tell him, like, do this. He just does the same thing over and over and over against me. That's like exactly what I want him to do. I don't have to do anything other than just let my elephant be my elephant against him. It's like I don't have to do anything. And in every changeover in every game, like I've been, he usually only plays doubles. He's a really good doubles player, and he's trying to get better at singles. And I usually only play singles. And I'm okay. I mean, I'm a good doubles player, but I'm not like I don't love doubles. Like I don't really give a shit about getting into the strategy and thought process. But whenever I play this guy in doubles, like he's a problem to play. Like because he knows what he wants to do, and he's very creative, and he's thinking about strategy. He's not thinking about execution and letting his elephant. He's not letting his system 2 and his rider get involved or whatever. But whenever we play singles, I can see him over there, just gears turning, like frustrated as hell, like trying to figure out, like, then they ever change over. He's like, Chris, I cannot fucking figure out how to play you. Like, and I'm like, his name's David. I'm like, David, I'll tell you how to play me. Do this exact shot. Like do this. And he'll try to do it like one time, and it'll work. And then I'm like, and then I'm across we're just friends and we're just playing a fun match. And I'm like, do that again. Just keep doing that. And then he just cannot figure it out. Like, and then he reverts back to something else. And then like, no joke, at the end of this match, like we played like a quick, just like fun points. We weren't serving anything. We just, feed the ball in and we'd try to, play out a point that way. And when he was just relaxed, he was hitting the exact shot that he needs to hit. For him to beat me, he hits a lot of heavy spin, and he hits it pretty kind of like a looping shot. He doesn't hit really like driving hard fast shots. His natural comfort zone is hitting loopy spin shots that aren't like moon balls or something, but they're like heavy spin loopy shots. When they hit the ground, they explode off. And it keeps pushing me back. I like to crowd the baseline and hit and drive balls with power and more flat shots where I'm dictating the point. When we play in a match, he takes off so much spin off of his ball that it like bounces right into my wheelhouse. I don't ever have to leave the baseline, crowd up the baseline, and I can just run him side to side all day long until I hit a winner. But when we're playing for fun points, he starts, letting his little elephant take over, and the fucking ball, he's hitting these great loopy, deeper shots that just pushing me back almost to the fucking fence, and I don't like hitting balls like that. And then he ends up beating me in these like just fun practice games, and he's like, "Why can I not play like this against you in a game?" And I'm like, David, like it's not. This is like. You got to do something different. Like you can't just fucking keep doing the same fucking thing over and over and over again. Just like you were saying with like, it's like solve the problem. Like it is clear you're not a bad player. You have similar skill levels as me, but like what you do is not working against me. Like you have to change, like, and then the second thing that you made me think about was my employees. For like sales professionals and stuff like that. I've seen so many salespeople over my years. I've worked with thousands of different sales professionals in my career, my time at Angie's List and Salesforce and, now with OSF and HC1 in between. Like I've seen all different kinds of way that people sell and don't sell. The ones that I find the most funny and hilarious are the ones that are like, that follow the exact instructions of like management, and they're like, hey, just do this, and you'll have success. Like there's some manual for fucking, sales, excellence or whatever. And it's like comical because I know it's going to happen every single time. They'll come to their managers and they'll be like, I'm doing exactly what you said to do, and I'm not having success. And they're like, well, do them hard. Go harder. Like, and they're like, okay. So then they do it again, and then they come back and they're like, I'm still not having success. I'm success. I'm working my ass off. I am just pounding harder and harder and harder against that wall, and I'm not breaking through. And then they go, the shitty leaders go, well, this
is not hard enough.
Like, yeah, it's not hard enough. And the cycle just goes over and over and over again of watching people just run.
It's
right.
Like maybe hit it harder, maybe run it at it faster. Right. This is the kind of teaching people teach you. It's like, hey, like You gotta go and like hit it, give it all you got, like
Right. Just
with
hit
it,
it
with
harder,
speed,
David.
with
Hit it hard.
power, harder, whatever, and do more times, like repeat more.
Right.
Eventually, it will get it. This is like the de facto solution people go
It
to,
is.
like, and so for months and sometimes in certain apps for years they could not figure out how to fix the problem because they believe that they can go through the wall.
Right.
And for me, it's well, the wall, I can just take the wall and toss it and put a new screen in.
It's
That's
it
what I
solved the
do.
problem, right? Like it
Right.
solved the
So then
problem.
you look at it, what do you need to do? Oh, I need to go to the other side. You didn't ask me to go through the wall. You say, well, my goal is to go to the other side. So if the wall's here, I can simply move the
Walk
wall.
around it. Yeah, yeah. Or
Right?
move the
Or walk
wall.
around it or
Or
whatever.
I can take some equipment and break it down. Or I could run over the wall. I could fly over the wall.
Climb over the wall,
I could
right?
tunnel under the wall.
But the thing is,
I could
it gets you to where you're supposed to be, which is my goal is to get to the other side.
right.
Whatever the goal is. And so when you look at that perspective, right, and say, well, I don't know how to solve this problem. I don't know if this is gonna work. If it doesn't work, well, it doesn't have to be logically, because the thing is you don't live in a kind environment. Whatever, 2 plus 2 doesn't equal to 4. 1 plus 1
Right.
doesn't equal to 2, right? 1 plus 1 is equal to 3 if you don't, you know. so, so the thing is, in a real world, things don't have to make sense. I mean, you can't sit there and try to make sense of it. It will take your whole life to even figure out why it's supposed to work, but it didn't work,
Right.
right? And so you cannot
But
solve
the
any
soul in the game helps you
with,
to find a way to go around the wall. You know what I mean? Or
exactly, because you cannot
because
just
you're like,
sit
I gotta
there
figure
and
this out.
pound
You
your
know?
head against a
Right.
wall because there's no other option. You cannot say, well, this option is my only option. I'll survive even though I will fail. Failure is not an option for because you went all in. You have to figure out how to get to your goal, whatever the
Right.
goal is. If your goal is to go to the other side, to where the meadows or whatever, right?
And
The war isn't what your focus should be.
and soul in the game is anti-fragile because it's robust. It's beyond robust, right? Like because you're
Exactly,
going
because
to
when you
find
have the
out.
soul in the game is like I said, you
You're
you
going to
approach you
find a way
approach
around that.
your target and it's a wall, right?
Right.
You can climb over it, you can you can go around it, you can remove the wall altogether, right? You can just use equipment to smash the wall or
Right.
whatever. You can go do many
You'll
things. It creates these possible solutions
right.
that you say, well, when I'm looking at it, these are the possible solutions. I don't have to say, hey, this is only one path, and there's only one path for me. I have to go through the wall. And if you have the skin in the game, your wall becomes a smaller problem in the grand scheme of your whole all in, bet. Because hey, if I can't get through the wall, right, it's it for me.
Right. Is this
It.
worth
I
it?
mean,
Is this
right?
worth
So
it? You
so
know,
that means that whatever that problem, it seems small comparison to the, hey, my game ends here.
right.
Think about it. So that's why it allows you to step back a little bit and say, well, the war is the tiny thing. There are many things I can do with that. That's why it gives you the ability to think more and more solutions, possible potential solution will come.
We don't have an option to not think when you have the soul in the game. Like you're gonna
Exactly. And
even if it takes
that's why it's
you
called anti-fragile, because it
exactly
forces you to multiply that multitude of possible solutions.
right. Like no, I don't care if it took you. It reminds me of Nelson Mandela's A Long Walk to Freedom, right? Like the dude did some crazy things while he was in jail in terms of like the things that he was able to get by and not get by about, but he didn't know what he was doing it for. But like you just kept pushing through because his soul was in that game. Like his soul was all in that game, and the stuff that he endured and survived and found ways around and and broke through walls and found new stuff. And then all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, you spent 25 years in jail and did all this stuff. Like, how did you do that? And like, for him, he didn't even think about it. Like, and it was just like, I have one path forward that I have to do this, like for whatever reason, and like, I don't care if I have to tunnel under this wall and and every night take out one pebble, and that's all I can do, to get underneath it. Because people then see, eventually you get to the other side and they're like, holy shit, like it took you 25 years to dig under that wall. And I mean,
But
that's
when you
insane,
think about
and you're like,
think about it, say it's my whole entire life
right,
versus 25 years, it seems small.
it's whatever.
To me,
I did what I
25
had to
years
do.
seems
Like,
small compared to your whole life.
right.
You see what I'm saying? So that's why when you have the soul in the game, you have I don't know what you call it, but like an ability to endure. Because
Yeah.
from the perspective of the 25 years to me compares small compared to my whole life. Because
Agreed.
if I can't move one pebble at a time for 25 years, my life ends. My life, right? It's much bigger. It's much more important than 25 years of doing the same shit over. I mean, for you, there is a reason to endure. And to endure with that, it's easy. Because from my perspective, it's nothing. Because when you're talking about the hard thing about hunting, right? People say, "Oh, this is the worst thing in my life." Well, compared to you, it's a piece of shit, right? It's nothing compared to what you gone
Right.
through. So that when you put your soul in the game, that gives you that perspective.
Exactly. I mean, there's not you
But
have
if somebody said,
like,
if you look at Nelson Mandela and say, well, the thing is, let's pretend that you are in his shoe, and you say, well, I'm going to jail for a year so I can, get this or whatever. I'm sure we can't do it for even for a year. It's long enough. If we don't
yeah.
understand why we do it, right?
Not for
There's no
why he was
certain.
there. Not for why he was there. Like if you put me in jail for why, for Amelia, and you said, hey, this is, you just got to, this is it. You get to spend time with your daughter in here, but like you got to be in jail for the rest of your life. I would be like, oh, okay, I can figure that out. Like if you put me in jail though for South African, abolishing apartheid, like I would be like, I mean, not that I don't care, like I mean, but I don't have any skin in the game.
It's not.
I
It's
don't have
not.
any skin in the game
Yeah.
in that, like
It's not. It's not your.
it's not my fight.
Yeah, it's not your core value. It's not your
Right.
fight. So
Right.
for you to for somebody to put you in jail for even a month, it seems unfair.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my fight. I mean, I'd be like, what do you want me to do?
But
Fine.
imagine
Like,
a month versus 25 years, and for him, it's like it's worth it. If whatever you do, right, and you did it for Amelia, even if they put you in jail for 25 years, it's still worth it because whatever you did,
I would do
right,
it. Yeah.
is what you wanted.
If I had to go live the 39 days of her life over every single, every 39 days like Groundhog Day, and we had to go do that over and over and over again for the rest of my life,
But you
I would
get
do
to
it.
have her with you,
Yeah.
it's worth
Right.
it.
I
You
would
know
do
what I
it.
mean?
Like
And
it
so
was
that's what we mean when we say soul in the game. So you
right.
should have soul in the game. Otherwise, your life isn't worth living.
Right. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's not worth living. It's not. It's not as. It's not
I
as.
pretty much guarantee you that at the end of your day, you're gonna regret. You have a lot of regrets.
I would agree. I mean, I would agree with that. I don't. Once again, we don't know. Like this goes back to that. We've in a weird way we've had this conversation. This is now a new lens on it with the idea of soul in the game. But this really goes back to purpose. Purpose is soul in the game, right?
Like I said, this is ancient
right,
wisdom.
right. And I've told you multiple times now, and I've told anybody that listen, like sometimes purpose is a bad thing. Like I mean, like I don't because it only puts you on one track. That's it. Like everything else is tunnel vision at that point in time. Like like sometimes ignorance is bliss. Sometimes it's nice to not to just be Steven Pinker and sit back and pick holes at other people with having no skin, not even skin in the game. Fuck soul in the game. He doesn't even have skin in the game or something along those lines, right? And you know what? To be fair, I'm not gonna shit on Steven Pinkers. I don't even know anything about his world, so I don't care. I'm just going off of what Nassim Taleb is saying. You know what I mean? So like
right.
I don't care. I read his book. He seemed like an okay guy to me. Like I mean, whatever. Like I mean, I don't know anything about him other than the book that I read. And that he's a and what he does. So, but I'm just giving that example as an example of like you can sit back from your lofty academia world and philosophize and say that this is how the world works and this is how everything's going to go, but like I don't fuck you, you know what I mean? Like sometimes that's nice. That could be very nice. It could be very cushy. It could be very, very nice.
But that's the thing is it's always gonna be wrong. Anybody tells you how to live your life is always gonna be wrong.
I mean I agree with what you're saying, but I'm I guess what I was getting at was sometimes purpose isn't all that it's cracked up to be, is all that I'm saying. Like sometimes soul in the game isn't all that it's cracked up to be. You can still
Well,
have
that's
a
the thing.
fulfilling and rewarding life,
That's part of life. I
Right.
mean, life is always there's good and bad in every single
Agreed.
thing. You
Right.
have a sword, it's bad and it's good. You have a gun, it's bad and it's good. You have a
Right.
purpose, it's bad and good, right? It doesn't matter what you do. Everything is always has those. It's basically two faces of one coin,
Right.
right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So the thing is that's just the reality of it.
It's fragile and anti-fragile. It's
It has to
yeah.
have both. You cannot
Right.
have fragile without anti-fragile. You cannot have matter without antimatter. It
Right.
just doesn't work that way. You cannot have decomposer without composers.
Decomposers.
What
Yeah.
what are you going to decompose if no one to compose anything?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, no. I'm saying
Right?
you said you can't have composers without composers. I was saying
Now you
decomposers.
cannot have decomposers without composer. Composer composes the
Never mind.
object. Decomposer decomposes the
No,
object.
no, I know. I'm saying you said you didn't say decomposer the first time. You said you can't have composers without composers. I was like,
No,
oh,
no, no.
you
That
mean
doesn't
decomposers.
make sense. That wouldn't make sense.
That's what I was trying to tell you. But anyway, all right. I feel like we after
Balance.
balance.
Balance
Yes,
is the key word of company.
yes.
Balance.
That's our beautiful question to go explore. Is can we help people to find and maintain balance of a meaningful life, a meaningful work, and meaningful
Their
relationships?
own balance, not my
Their own balance,
balance,
right? Their own
not
balance,
anyone's balance, not the universal common sense of balance, not the average
right?
balance, not the majority rules balance, right? I don't care about the average. I don't care about the median. I don't care about each individual one of us is unique and has her own balance of scale.
Right.
You when it's just you cannot take something and put it into math and say, well, in this world, right, it's gonna follow this kind of environment that we project the rules and reasons to, and it shall obey. It doesn't obey. I mean, even the law of physics, right? The law of physics is not even like something we can manipulate, and it still violates it on its own,
Right.
right? Because there's certain stars that spin in one direction and there's certain planet that reverse in the other reverse. Right? You explain to me why.
I, I, I don't know.
Right?
I mean, that's not my soul. That's not my domain for soul
What
in the
I'm
game.
saying is, it's there are a lot of things are unexplainable.
Right.
We don't have the ability to grasp it from the unknown perspectives. That's given. So that means that in our lives, it is individually whatever your feedback. It is yours and yours alone.
Mhm.
It cannot be said. Well, I can't tell you. Okay, I drink this cup of coffee and I grow 2 inches. That doesn't work for anyone else.
Can you do
You can't
that?
say Stephen Pinker. Say Stephen Pinker. You shall be nice and nice guy finish last or whatever stupid stereotype that people throw
Right.
at, right? It doesn't work. It never works. You just
You
make a
can't
fool
tell
of yourself.
you can't tell your team to go eat the frog and then literally go into the kitchen and pull out a nice slice of cake and sit there while you're while you're just watching them work out in front of you and you're like yeah, eat the frog, everyone.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Okay. Good place to end on. Any final thoughts and or you
You should
feel
have soul in the game,
you should. I
in the
agree.
game of life.
So soul in the game does make life more
The
fulfilling and
thing is,
rewarding.
my final say is play the game that you can put soul in the game too. If you cannot put a sim and go, don't waste your time.
And just have fun. Like I mean,
Don't waste your time.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
the thing
right.
is, for example, I mean, this is what I'm saying before. Like you have to embrace and focus on your strengths.
Yeah,
Don't focus on what you think you want. Because, like I say, back in the days, I want to be a cornerback, NFL cornerback. I can't. I don't have the physical trait for it. I have the mind for it, but I don't have the physical trait for it. I would be good at being a kicker, but I didn't follow that, right? So I wasted. So I didn't spend the time I should have spent on doing things that I should have done. I did things that I thought I need to do. That is going to waste your time.
Agreed. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for your final thoughts. I think mine would be don't ever listen to anyone for advice unless they have their soul in the game. Like don't ever seek advice. Sorry, I should say don't ever seek advice from somebody unless they have their soul in the game. Like, I mean, like just don't ever do that. Whether your soul in the game is or not is irrelevant in my opinion. Don't ever listen to anybody with even an open mind.
When somebody
honestly.
doesn't have soul in the game and what they say, they have no
Right.
credibility.
Zero. Like, I mean, like just if they talk, just literally just
I mean, it's just hearsay. It's just hearsay, right?
It's just
And so
total
without having the soul in the game, which is like your whole life is on the line, then that person has no credibility.
You'll know when somebody has their soul in the game, or whether they have skin in the game, or whether they have nothing in the game. You know, like, I mean, you'll know it immediately. So just keep your let your elephant detect that, and then, you know, remind your writer to tell your, you know, everybody to just walk away from anybody that doesn't, you know, meet those requirements. So, all right, thanks everybody for joining.
You're talking about an elephant and the rider as one, not a rider that can jump off the elephant to another elephant at any time.
Right. Exactly. Good point. Yeah, they're tied at the hip. He's got to pee down the elephant's back every day. You know, can't get off. No toilet breaks. All right, everyone, have a good night, and we will see you all tomorrow. And Snow will be joining us tomorrow, so we'll have a snowstorm. All right.
Sounds good. Good night.